So these old people really in here having conversations about how they gonna throw their ass back, how they gonna do this, how they gonna do that when they get home to their nigga. Now what really threw me was the fact that this old woman was talking about, man, once I get that honey in my system, this nigga be trying to lick every part of me. So I'm like, you put the honey in your system and he trying to lick you? Do y'all share the honey? Do he have some Hennessy? Like, what's going on? So she keep going into details, and at this point I'm getting sick because the only thing I can see is you only got one tooth in your mouth. Now, mind you, she had a couple of teeth up here, whatever, but the prominent thing whenever she laughed or was acting as if she was still 21 was the one little tooth popping out. So I'm sitting here, I'm like, bro, these people real life acting as if they still 19, 20, and 21, talking about shit that I wish to God I would hear my grandmother talking about. So the lady comes, she was like, all right, so if y'all ready to sign these refusals, go ahead and get them signed. They filling them out fast. They trying to get back to the dorm, go to sleep, eat crack, whatever it is that they doing. So I'm like, I ain't never seen nobody with diabetes deny or turn down some insulin, but they get up and they go to the back. I said, ma'am, so when they gonna get me in? She was like, just be patient. Jerry is coming to get your paperwork and then he gonna start your process. So about 2 minutes later, they open the door and I go out. When I go out, I was like, man, please don't tell me y'all have to give me a TB shot. Like, I'm going home. So he was like, yeah, it's protocol. So he began asking me the same questions. Am I suicidal? Do I feel depressed? Do I want to kill myself? Things of that sort. And I'm like, no. He take my temperature. He get my blood pressure. He's like, all right, so I'm about to put this TB test in your right arm. Don't scratch it. Don't irritate it. Don't rub it. Don't do nothing. If anything, take your hand and do like this. So he raised up my shirt and everything. Y'all can probably still see it. He gave me the little, oh no. Oh, it's gone. Well, anyways, he gave me the little TB shot and I'm like, oh my God. He was like, all right, no restrictions on her. She can go to general population. So she sent me back in the room. I'm like, so how long do I have to sit? I'm already embarrassed. It's a bunch of fine niggas walking through. I'm over here, head bald and shit. Now, mind you, yes, I shaved my head, so I can't necessarily be too embarrassed. But shit, there's some fine COs in here. So she was like, oh, somebody gonna come and get you. And it ended up being the same dude who came and got me from the front. He was like, you ready to go? Where's she going? It was like, oh, she going G, whatever G stands for. So he grabbed me. He was like, all right, get your bag. Let's go. So I'm walking behind him all slow because I'm not really trying to go into population, but eventually I got to get there. It's only so many little steps that I can take. So we pull up. He's like, yeah, I got one coming into G. They open the door. I go in. He was like, have fun. I'm like, have fun. He closed the door. They leave. Then the big door opened up. I go inside. She's like, hi, what's your name? I was like, Sherelle Hodge. She said, go up to 42. I'm like, damn, y'all sure love putting fat bitches on the top floor, but all the little skinny bitches be on the bottom. Like, I'm already thinking, like, I'm finna be tired, fat as hell, because I'm irritated going up and down these steps. So I go up, I get up there, she popped the door, I open, it's another black girl. I'm like, all right, cool. I'm in there with somebody of my nature, somebody I can possibly relate to. So I go in, she was like, hey girl, how you doing? My name's Shirley, you know, introducing herself. And I ain't never seen no inmate, like all my times of going in and out of jail, I've never seen an inmate that excited to introduce themselves. I was like, hey, my name's Sherelle. Where's the mats at? Now, mind you, I've been to the jail before, but I didn't see the mats where I saw them. She was like, oh, you're gonna have to ask the CO, and if there's none down there, they're gonna have to bring them in. So I hit the little button, she popped the door, and I was like, I need a mat, because I ain't trying to sleep on a steel. Although once I got the mat, I should have just slept on a steel, because that's exactly what it felt like. So she's like, come down. When I went down, it was a little bin outside, the little double doors, like, that you go in jail. Like, you gotta have one door closed behind you before another door opens. So it was open. I go out, I get a little plastic mat, and I go back upstairs. When I go back upstairs, she get to talking. My roomie, my bunkie, whatever you want to call it, get to talking, telling me about how she just did a year. She been living in Tennessee. Tennessee don't take domestic charges lightly. How she got to run. Well, she was on the run from parole, but parole need to come and release her. Or whatever the case was, she just running down the whole thing. She was like, what are you here for? I was like, for nothing. She said, what do you mean? I was like, they literally arrested me for nothing. I'm still, like, I'm running down the stories as if she can help me or whatever, right? So I'm like, when will we get a chance to use the phone? She said, well, we already did wreck and stuff, so we kind of stuck in the room, like, for the rest of the night. But they gonna end up bringing us some tablets. So I remember the tablets from last time, but she was like, they definitely garbage on this side of the jail. So they bring us the tablets. I get in. I'm trying to put in my little passcode. It asked me for a picture. Lord, y'all gotta know, that motherfucking picture was raggedy as hell. And if you're wondering, yes, I'm in the middle of the mile recording this because I need y'all to hear. So she was like, here, you can use the tablet, boom, boom, boom. So the first person I'm looking for on there is my homie, because I was just in here back in December, so I already know you know how to set it up. So I called. The motherfucker don't get no calls. I said, bro, I ain't finna be able to do this. I feel like I ain't got my own, like my first phone call, and I've been in the front and I already made phone calls. Like, I can't be restricted in here. Then I ain't going out for the rest of the night. She's like, calm down, calm down. The tablet will start to work around midnight. That's when all the motherfuckers go to sleep because the drugs done knock them out, so you'll be able to use it. So I'm like, dang, midnight is a long way away because it's only like 7 right now. So I'm chilling, I'm relaxing. I would log in, you know, trying to send a little message, but people actually have to have it set up. So I was like, let me just try the phone again. So I tried the phone and it actually went through. He got on the phone like, hello? I was like, hello? 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 I'm like, can you hear me? He talking about, hello? Hello? I'm like, bro, ain't no way. So by then, the tablet had said registration failed. So I'm sitting here, big ass jumpsuit, bald head. She laying on the bed. Then she'll get up and start cleaning the toilet. I'm sitting here like, bro, I am strictly about to be stressed out in this motherfucking seat. Like, I'm about to lose my mind, right? Sitting here going from the tablet working to the tablet not working, getting them on the phone. Now you can't hear me running around like I actually got a cell phone trying to pick up a signal because everybody want to be using the tablet. I was like, you know what? Fuck it. I'm going to just get into bed. I'm going to go to sleep and try to wake up around midnight when the motherfuckers start working. So, of course, I went to sleep, no recollection of the time. She waked me up and she was like, hey, you can use the tablet now, like the tablet's working. So I'm up, boom, 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 trying to get phone calls, all of that. Now, mind you, making the phone calls, what is that going to do for me? Not a goddamn thing. Like, I'm still stuck in here, right? So I go to sleep. We're going to bypass all of that because I did the same thing in a cell, fight with the freaking tablet. So I go to sleep. I get, like, my door, the cell door, whatever it is, and it popped open. So when it popped open, my bunkie got up first and was like, yes, ma'am. They was like, Hodge. And I'm like, oh, I'm going home this early, boom, boom, boom. Now, I know I had to go to court, but that was my first thought. Like, you calling my name, it's time for me to pack it up. So I go to the door. I'm like, yes, ma'am. She was like, get dressed, you going to court. I was like, oh, yeah, I knew that. I knew that already. So I get up, I hurry up and put on my clothes, and I noticed that everybody else was already down there. Now, maybe they was waiting on me. Maybe they was waiting on me and they had been calling me for a minute and I was just too deep into sleep. And my bunkie was too deep into some sleep. So I get up and I'm like, dang, I gotta brush my teeth, I gotta wash my face, but I don't have time. They're finna leave me and I can't miss court. So I grabbed my little towel out the bag. I wetted up a little bit. I hit my little wet spots in my eyes where I was sleeping and there's like little bitty crust thingies that come. And I was like, okay, I'm on the way. So I'm running down the steps, pulling up my little, my jumpsuit. I put it on and then I button it up. And I'm like, this motherfucker big to be going to court, but I'm going. So we get down there to where we have to wait where the court is. There's another big lady. There's a girl who was really confusing me whether she was a girl or not. I don't know. She really looked more so like a man. And I'm like, when they start sitting us in the same section, there was an old lady and then there was a couple other individuals who just seemed real quiet and scared about wherever it was that they were. So while I'm sitting here, I'm like, man, I'm sleeping in a hole, bro. So they had some extra chairs in my fat ass. I'm going to lean on the chair and I'm going to go to sleep. I had leaned over. I started going to sleep, but I fell off. When I fell off, I woke up and there was the old white lady that was in there. She was just sitting there like, I didn't know that the comb and the grease and stuff was invented by a black woman. And I'm sitting here like, you excited and you worried about, like, why are you even saying this right now, of all things? Now, I noticed when she started talking about that, I started looking around the room that they had us sitting in before court, before we was taking the court or whatever, and it had a lot of historical facts. So I'm like, where are we? The other girl, I'm quite sure she'd been there before. She was like, oh, we in one of the programs rooms. So they got a lot of historical facts. They got a lot of math. They got a lot of stuff that you can learn. So I'm guessing while I was sleeping for that little period of time, the little white lady was running around soaking up all the knowledge that she could soak up. So she came back and she sat down and she was like, you want to know why I'm in here? I was like, not really, but sure, you could tell me, we could pass the time. She was like, I got into a wreck. I said, so they brought you to jail for getting into a wreck? And so she proceeded to pull up her arm and she white. So all of this right here was black. Like the bitch had the biggest bruise. Around here was black. And then like, she didn't show me her breast, but she was like, up here is black as well from where the seatbelt was. And I was like, oh my God. Like now I'm intrigued. Tell me more. So she was like, oh no, I was driving in traffic and this guy, he just slammed on his brakes and I rammed into the back of him. And I'm like, so you didn't see him slam on his brakes so you could slam on yours? She was like, well, I always have my car on cruise control. So being on cruise control, I'm thinking that I'm going with the flow of traffic. I didn't expect him to slam on his brakes. So me reacting, like my reaction time is garbage. So in the same breath of her telling me her reaction time is garbage, she also saying, I can't really see and I can't really hear because this ear is real sensitive. It used to rupture a lot as a kid. So I'm like, so not only were you driving, but you can't hear and you can't see. So maybe you were at fault for this. So I said, okay, so what happened after that? Like, how did you end up in jail? She said, well, when the police came, they did their little investigation. We exchanged insurance and things of that sort. But when he asked me for my identification, instead of me giving him my actual driver's license, I gave him my old deputy marshal badge. And I'm like, okay, well, that still identifies who you are. She was like, yeah, but the kicking point about this is he said I was impersonating an officer. I said, so are you in jail for impersonating an officer? She was like, honestly, I don't know my charges. Like, I don't know. I'm just as confused. Now she started to sound a little delirious, like, okay, maybe this woman got a concussion. Maybe this woman is really injured and she really needs to see a doctor because maybe she's talking out her neck right now. But that's just my own interpretation of it. So she keep going and she's like, we have court and the judge is supposed to give me a bond, but what do I do after, like, she asked me jail questions and that. I was like, once you get a bond, you could just call your bondsman. I know a lady, her name is Wendy. She'll come and get you if you got the money or whatever, right? So we sitting there, we still conversing, we still talking, and it's time for us to go, like, to court or whatever. So I go in, they handle my shit, but they actually put me to the side because the state was still trying to tell me that I had a warrant, although we already clarified that yesterday that I didn't. You bitches still brought me to jail. So it's time for the old lady to go. When the old lady goes, she's sitting there like she can't see, she can't hear. The judge just talking, right? So we go back to the spot where it was after court was over, and she was like, I still don't understand. Like, the speaker was so loud, it was distorted. I said, well, you got the charge for impersonating an officer, and then you got the charge for reckless driving, or whatever that little charge is, right? So I'm like, they're gonna give you a piece of paper or whatever with your bond amount, blah, 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 right? So they ended up giving everybody a piece of paper but me, because I didn't have no charge, so I didn't have to go through, like, the jail clearance part. I actually just had to go to court. So she got her paper, and she was like, can you read this for me? I was like, you can't read either? She was like, well, I told you I can't see. I said, well, how, if you can't see, you can't hear, how are you supposed to understand? But I'm going to read it anyway. So I read the paper because, you know, I'm nosy. The paper did not list her charges at all. It listed or stated that, oh, she's indigent and she can't afford an attorney. Her bond is $75,000. And if you can't afford your bond to bond out, you got to be back at court in a month. So I was like, well, they didn't list your charges on here, so you can't read that off to anybody, but your bond is $75,000. And she was like, so what is it, 10%? I was like, I think in the state of Louisiana it's 12%. But I don't know, because I pay my whole bond, so I get all my money back. So she was like, oh, so what do I do? I was like, honestly, just call the bondsman. I'll give you the number to Miss Wendy and you can call. So we go back into our little pod and everything. She was like, well, I'm going to give y'all a couple minutes to use the phone. I go get on the phone. I'm calling my homie. I already know I'm getting ready to go home. So I'm like, all right, it's a little bit before 12. I can go take a nap. By the time I get deep into my sleep, they're going to be calling me to come out. This is my whole theory every time I go to jail. When I know I'm going home, just go to sleep and they're going to call. So I go back upstairs after I check on the old lady and make sure that the people was helping her or whatever. I go back upstairs, I get into bed after I explain to my bunkie what was going on. I wake up, it's almost 3 o'clock and I'm still not getting called. So by this time, everybody done took their little nap because pill calling came, so the tablet's working. Everybody not trying to be on the tablets at one time. So I get on the tablet, I call, and I was like, hey, I'm still in here. They told me, what they doing? I said, I don't know. I need you to call records right now and get on their ass. So anyways, he ended up hanging up. He called them. Then I called him right back. He was like, oh, they said that they working on your paperwork now. I said, okay now. Okay. Because I need to get the fuck out of here. It don't take this long. So I go and I'm like, all right, I'm going to just lay back down. I'm going to try to go to sleep. At this point, I can't go to sleep because I feel like I should have been out here. Maybe there's some other BS that's going on. Although I know for a fact it's not. Maybe it just happened to be. So I lay back down. By the time I lay down, the food is coming. It's time for us to eat dinner now. Mind you, they feed you breakfast at 3, you get dinner at 3. They feed you 3 times a day within the 12-hour span. That means you got 12 hours to sit there and starve. You know what I'm saying? So, anyways, food was coming. I'm like, oh, y'all having some nasty food. She was like, oh, no, we're having sloppy joes, and if you don't mind, can you get the food for me? I was like, yeah, I'll go down there this time because I ain't eating nothing else. I've been there for what? Maybe 26 hours, and I ain't touched none of the food, although I really didn't even make it in time because I was stuck in the front, and by the time I got to the back, all the food was gone and they ain't give me no sandwiches. But even if I had made it, I still wouldn't have touched the food. So the food come in, she called the first crew down. When the first crew come down, there's a lady who's pregnant in a single cell by herself. They take her food, but when she come out because she needs some fresh air, she fall out. Honestly, I think it's a ploy because she was over there like she kept doing it over and over, and I was like, oh yeah, she definitely playing. She trying to come out that single cell because you done got yourself in there by doing some fucked up shit, and now you mad because you in there, so now you trying to find your way to get out. So while she over there pretending to be having some type of weird ass visual, the people come rushing in because the white garb has. She's like, oh my God, we got a code, da 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 da. Everybody on the ground. So I'm looking out my cell because I can't come out the door. I see everybody just drop down. Even the bitch in the wheelchair who got one leg who just rolling around, she dropped down on the ground. I said, baby, you as close to the ground as you can get. Who the hell finna help you back up into your wheelchair? Maybe one of your inmate friends. I don't know. So all I see is niggas running in. They running in over there to the girl just for like what? 45 seconds later, they put her right back in her cell, rolled the wheelchair out, rolled the little blood pressure machine out. The nurse, the doctors, all of them rolled out back behind the guys. I said, ain't this some shit? So my bunkie was like, man, she need to come on. I'm hungry. Like, I'm tired of going last. I'm tired of having to be the one that eat last, which in fact, we was last on rec. We was last when it came to medicine. We was last on getting the books. We was last on the commissary. Like 42 is on the last because it's 1 through 48 cells, right? 2 bitches in each cell, maybe 3 in some. But it's 100 of us, so we go last all the time. So while the people, like, she let them finish up eating, so she was sending them back up. She was like, rack up, we're gonna let the cleaners clean, and we're gonna send the next section down. The next section come down, we thinking she finna unrack the whole top tier. No, she only unrack half of it. So I'm like, we still gotta wait another 30 minutes for these bitches to eat before we can eat. So she was like, man, that's how I be, Bunky. That's how I be. So I'm like, fuck it. I'ma just lay back down. By the time I shed my freaking jumpsuit to get back in the bed, my door popped. I'm like, So my bunkie go to the door once again. She always the one that's going to the door. Maybe she's some type of protector or whatever. She was like, yes, Hodge. I'm like, hold on. I'm in the middle of getting up in my bed. She's like, Bunky, it's time for you to go. She's talking about, pack it up. It's time to pack it up. I'll be back for part 4.